Yeah,
Hit deliver, boy, boy,
but
boy, 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 hit deliver.
I think that stealth mixes with horror very well because
Oh, it's perfect for it because
yeah, because
stealth
Alien
is perfect
Isolation
because
did
you're
stealth
trying
as
to
well as
avoid the
horror, and
you're trying to avoid the monster, so it fits perfectly.
yeah, and it works well, and that's why I think that the new Friday the 13th game is probably going to be really good too because it's stealth and horror, and it's
I'm willing to give it a chance because
yeah,
it's bound to be better than that NES game.
Yes, I'm hoping it does good. I think we need
yeah.
this bad.
I'm willing to give it a chance. I have low expectations for it. I don't expect it to get anything more than like a C plus, but I'll take what I can get at this
It
point.
could turn out to be really good, but you know what? I think there's something that could make a really, really good horror video game. Do you guys want me to tell you what that is?
Sure, go ahead.
The Hunger Games.
Yeah.
The Hunger
Um,
Games is, in its essence, a horror novel.
well, it's a post-apocalyptic thing, so I guess
Well,
that's
no,
part of
it
it.
is. It is in essence
It's being
a
hunted, so yes, it is.
yeah.
But
It is a very tense kind of
if you're gonna do that, just do the
yeah.
most dangerous game. I mean, that's the original short story, the most dangerous game. I think that would be the more way to go. I think
Well, yeah,
that
but
is even scarier because you're unarmed against that.
take um take the Hunger Games, put it, make a game in the Fox engine, make it in the Metal Gear Solid 5 engine, and or the MGS3 engine, and whatever.
Or CryEngine.
Have those no. Metal Gear or Solid. Use
Okay,
the Metal Gear engine because
That combines stealth and everything.
yeah, that combines the stealth and the
Yeah,
survival
stealth.
and the action and all that, and it would make a really good tense stealth survival horror game. And
More
because
stealth survival. I'm not sure what the horror elements to it.
horror in the
You're
essence,
being hunted, so yes,
you're being
that's very
hunted.
horrifying.
You're being actively hunted for one thing, and for another, they have to deal with infections in the field and starvation and
It would make for a good open world survival game. I'll say that.
yeah, and starvation and uh
But they have to incorporate
yeah, and
how long. Like there's a limited amount of enemies to deal with, so are they just going to make everyone a boss fight then? So that's part of it.
you could, but the thing is, you'd have to have really sophisticated AI for it,
Yeah, that's the
and
other issue. And a lot of AI in games is garbage these days.
yeah, you'd have to have really sophisticated AI, and there would be a lot of player versus environment stuff because there are the creatures in that.
I think Hunger Games works better as a, it probably works better in concept as like a multiplayer game. And I'm not a multiplayer guy because I like to keep my eardrums safe. Thank you,
Yeah.
which is why I prefer single player these days. But
Well,
in concept, it probably works better as a multiplayer
the
game.
multiplayer would be awesome in a game like that, but I would love to play through a branching storyline
I would
sort of
love
thing.
to play. I would love to play through the story of the Hunger Games. I've only seen the first Hunger Games movie, and it was boring until we actually got to see the fighting. So
Yeah,
that was part of it.
trust me, the book
I
is
have
much
not.
better. They had no edge when they made that movie because there
I
was
have
so
not.
much stuff that got cut
I
out.
have not. I have not seen Catching Fire. I have not seen Mockingjay 1. I do not plan on seeing Mockingjay 2 unless I see those other movies, but I haven't seen them, so
Catching Fire is really good. So is Mockingjay 1. And
yeah.
they still
Someone else on
I
the
don't
site,
care about any of the franchise, so
someone
Yeah.
else is gonna on the site is gonna have to take care of Mockingjay 2.
But yeah, the thing is, I think the Hunger Games would make a really good kind of horror game, if you were
It'd be
to
interesting.
do
It'd be
that.
interesting.
Yeah,
I concede it'll be interesting.
but that brings me to horror books because I really do consider the Hunger Games to be a horror novel. Well,
R.L.
because
Stein, he's
yeah,
scary.
because of the way it's set up. Yeah, I've never actually read R.L. Stein. I was never allowed to read Goosebumps as a kid.
Goosebumps is basically a gateway into horror for children. It introduces
Yes.
it, really.
So here's the thing about me.
Also, Stephen King. Who else thinks Stephen King is one of the most overrated writers ever?
I think he's
He
pretty
keeps
decent.
writing the same book over and over
Yeah.
again.
Well, I've never been
I mean,
scared
I like
by Stephen
his
King except stuff like Shawshank, but like there's one story in particular by Stephen King. It's about this group of kids or people or whatever in a small town in Maine where some supernatural or scary thing is happening. You know, the same story he's been writing for half a century now.
Yeah, I like his non-horror stuff a lot better than his horror stuff because the
I like the stuff that doesn't involve him, like The Shining, for instance.
the Green Mile, the Shawshank Redemption, and those things are really good. And from what I've heard they're
I haven't
Stephen
seen
King is at his
Mile.
best when he's not writing horror, I think.
Yeah, that's part of it. Like he's not a good writer. He's mediocre to me.
I'd say even Green Mile has horror elements to it, though.
Well, yeah, but it's not.
Especially the movie where
It's not
we
a
get to see
horror.
where you get to see that electrocution scene. That is a horrifying scene. Where they don't wet the sponge the first time. That is a very, very horrifying scene, I'd say.
But yeah, the thing about horror or novels is that you have to really be able to connect with the character, the main
Yeah.
character, and without the kind of immersion provided by a first-person narrative, I don't usually think that horror novels work all that well.
Well, novels sometimes tend to be better than movies for any genre.
Yeah.
For instance, like the Goosebumps TV show. Do not watch that TV show. Is bad.
I actually thought it was pretty decent. But see,
It's some episodes were good. A lot of it was bad. For instance, there was the one where they have where these two kids are out with their cousins who look more like grandparents, and there's these two kids who there's these other two kids on the beach they meet. So they're trying to stop ghosts as this big thing. That's
I
happening.
remember that
So-
one, yeah.
So what is their plan to trap? What is their plan to fight the ghosts?
They're gonna trap them in a
with
cave.
rocks. With rocks.
Yeah.
Rocks trap ghosts. What? The ghosts. Are they supposed to go through this stuff? Are they supposed to phase through their Kitty Pryde or something?
Yeah. That's the thing is that a lot of, you got to either have the budget or the ingenuity to make stuff like that work, otherwise you might as well not
Yeah.
even bother.
Are You Afraid of the Dark is
I was-
scarier than...
And I was just
Sure.
I
going to
couldn't
bring
even
up
watch Are You Afraid of the Dark as a kid.
I was just going to say why I brought up why I thought that if you're going to I thought that they were trying to make the Marine character in Godzilla to be John Cena, so I said if you're just gonna try and make the main character John Cena, just cast John Cena.
You might as well, because he's cheaper than Aaron Taylor Johnson last I checked.
Yeah.
Also, Taylor Johnson, I will concede, is a fairly decent actor. I mean, hey, he's better than Kristen Stewart or Hayden Christensen.
Hayden Christensen isn't bad. He just has bad scripts to work with.
And he's so monotone and emotionless.
His
Because
default
That's the way that he was directed.
Hayden Christensen. I'm not
His-
the that I should be. I'm so in love with
Everybody
you.
in that movie talks that way. Everybody
Yeah.
in the prequel talks that way. That is all.
Not Ewan McGregor or not
Samuel
Ewan
L. Jackson talks
Samuel
like
L.
that.
Jackson is monotone. When is Samuel L. Jackson ever monotone?
I know, that's not his thing.
It's
The
all
only ones who are good in those movies are Liam Neeson, Ewan McGregor, Ian
Liam
McDermott,
Neeson
and
wasn't even good.
Christopher Lee.
Liam Neeson wasn't even good.
He was good. I liked him
They
as
He
a
was-
Bond.
Liam Neeson.
He was fine, but
He was an unnecessary
I
character.
liked
Anyway,
him
that's,
as
we're
Bond.
not talking about that.
but anyways, let's go ahead and keep talking about horror for a bit.
yes. So
Yeah.
do you guys want me to fix horror? I can do this right now.
Go ahead.
Okay, give us your reasons.
Okay.
Give us your top ways to fix horror.
Cast me. That's pretty much it. We do that. You cast me in a horror movie. You keep throwing me in there. You keep having me do horror movies. We need someone who is known for horror, not someone who uses it as a stepping stool to get into bigger movies.
How about Anthony Hopkins or Daniel Day-Lewis? How about cast them in some villainous role? Wouldn't they be perfect?
Daniel Day-Lewis will kill somebody. That's why.
Cast
Yeah, that's another thing.
Like,
Because
if
he
if you
really
do
gets
that,
into
if you
He really
keep
does.
having a
Yeah.
recurring villain, if you keep having someone, eventually they will get in there. They will understand how to scare people. They will scare somebody just by walking on scene because people know that
Yeah.
they are the villain and that they are
Bryan
forced to be
Cranston,
reckoned with.
Bryan Cranston is perfect for that.
Cast
that's
you
why-
and then get me to write and direct.
Yes,
get-
there we go.
I can do a good like threatening face. Really, I can do a good threatening face, and I can be like stoic, and I can do.
Did you-
But see,
And
this is our problem.
I won't even need to talk, and I could do something scary.
We don't have horror actors anymore. We don't have a Vincent Price. We don't have a Christopher Lee. We don't have a Bela Lugosi. We don't have any of these guys anymore.
Yeah, and I don't blame.
And we haven't for
I don't
quite
blame
some years because people use horror as a stepping stone.
Yeah, and I
It's a
don't
way to
blame
get into fame, and we don't have
Yeah.
anybody who does it because they love it.
I don't blame Anthony Hopkins for not getting involved in it in horror movies anymore because it's become a joke now.
Yeah. Speaking of jokes, I heard that the latter Scream movies got kind of bad, and
I've never seen any.
2 was okay, 3 was kind of bad, 4 came
I've never
back a
seen
little
the
bit.
Scream movies. I've
what
never seen the
about
Scream.
what about scary movies?
Oh, those are those subpar,
Seltzer
mediocre
Bird.
comedy movies.
1
So-
was really good, 2 decent, 3 was okay, and then after 4 I just stopped caring.
It's,
Okay, let's
it's
give our own
Seltzerberg, so I
individual
don't expect
let's-
much.
Let's give our own individual 5 reasons for how to fix horror. Number 5, watch Alien. Number 4, watch The Shining. Number 3, have actual actors play in the role alongside youngsters and newcomers.
Yes.
Hummers. Number 2, have an actual director. Number 1, have an actual writer and producer and people who give a damn.
I wouldn't say you said bring in newcomers. I don't want newcomers. I want
No,
people who are
newcomer-
seasoned.
No, newcomers alongside the seasoned guys.
Okay, yes, I want mainly seasoned actors. We don't have seasoned horror actors.
Yes, like
I brought
I'd like-
this up. We have
I love to
people
see
who are
Anthony
known.
Hopkins back. I'd love to see Anthony Hopkins do it again, but I don't blame him for not getting back in. Since
We have people who are known now for the dramatic roles or for comedy roles or for any other role. But when it comes to horror, there is no person to go to. It is some nobody they cast for 1 movie, for 2 movies, that then goes off and does something else or falls off the face of the earth completely.
Do you know what I think? I'm just gonna mention something here. Tom Hardy would be a good horror villain.
I don't think so.
I can see it. I can see Tom
He-
Hardy.
He needs to stay with action and drama.
I can see Tom Hardy doing something scary.
You merely adopted the dark. I was born into it, molded by it.
Just give
I
us a
didn't
voice we can
see
actually
it.
understand when Tom Hardy plays the villain. You know what I mean?
I didn't see the light until I
Our
was
character would be
already
speaking
in
something
there.
like that, Max.
Only when you have seen Gotham burn and you can finally understand my voice, I will allow you to die.
But yeah, Bane. Tom Hardy as Bane pretty much sold me on him as a horror villain. It's just that
The
You know,
voice.
the Dark Knight Rises needed to be more horror oriented, I think.
It also needed to. It also. I don't think Catwoman was necessary for it.
Not really, no.
Yeah, Catwoman should have been cut out, and they should have played more on the. And they should have played more on the relationship between Talia and Bruce.
And you know, they should have made Bane Bane, but
I can
Bane's
kind
not
of.
Bane in that movie.
He kind of is as like a leader of some.
The
Well,
only thing
yeah,
that's
just
Bane
don't
about that
ma-
Bane is he brings Batman's back. That's
Yeah.
the only thing that's Bane about him.
Well, you know,
Like,
the problem is
Dark
that
Knight
he's
Rises is mediocre.
they turned him into a foot soldier, a glorified foot soldier, rather than the leader, or rather than the being
Yeah.
the big bad, which is what he should have been. And
Yeah, like he should
that's
have
the
been,
thing
he
is
should have
that
been on his own. He should not have had an army. He should have been on his own, going on his own on his journey to Gotham, trying to best the Batman because he's been missing for years. He's been missing for years, and Bane feels like he's missed his chance out of it. So he does some crazy thing to try and get Batman out back in the open again.
Right.
So that's part of it.
and the
He should have been
but
on
yeah,
his own throughout the
this
movie.
brings me up. You know, we talk about the massive turnover in horror protagonists, where they will kill the protagonist of the last movie to try and amp the stakes up. But
What are they replacing?
or if the actors don't want to come back, they'll kill them off screen. You know, but what about the turnover in horror villains, where like the villain is awesome in one movie and then you move on onto the next and he's just some flunky, you know?
I can't
Yeah,
remember a movie in recent memory where a horror villain came back. I
Well,
honestly can't, not in recent memory.
I can't remember a modern horror movie villain that actually freaked me out. That didn't just make me groan throughout the whole time.
Was there it? Have you any of you guys seen the Paranormal Activity movies?
I've
No.
seen the fourth one.
They're
Do those
garbage.
movies actually have villains in them?
No.
The devil, basically.
So they're ripping off The Exorcist?
I guess. Kind of, sort of, I don't know.
I mean, like I
Paranormal
said,
Activity was one of the major downfalls of horror movies.
yeah. I think the Blair
The
Witch
Exorcist?
Project. I think the Blair Witch Project was worse than.
Yeah, the Blair Witch Project was the start, but I think
Yeah.
Paranormal Activity really it was the final nail in the coffin of horror movies, where we have these people who can realize they can work on a low budget. They use shaky cam. They don't put anything into their story. They just think that a sheep movie is scary.
Look, shaky cam can work if it's something like in Jason Bourne or Kingsman, but the problem is it just
When the entire movie is shaky cam, there's
Yeah,
only
when-
one movie
Right.
I like.
The
The
entire
entire movie is shaky cam, and that is Chronicle. That is the only movie.
I
I've
was
ever
gonna
liked
say,
that is
yeah,
completely shaky
Chronicle
cam.
Because-
Chronicle was good, and you could.
Chronicle was okay, but Josh Trank is really not all that he's made up to be. I don't think.
Yes,
I think.
he is.
Well, I think they wasted the ending. They.
The ending was supposed to be different, but to get a lower rating, they did not use the original ending because the original ending was going to have him killing his father, but they decided not to do that, so that way they can one have the hero moment and two, where they can keep a lower rating.
I want to see something where the hero actually fails.
Yeah, we don't have that either.
Well, that's the thing is that you either have people who do everything wrong and succeed, or people who
Or do everything right and
And-
become evil for some reason.
Yeah, and that's the. And then you've got horror movies where they introduce, where they do, like, introduce plot threads and twists at the end of the movie that are never brought up again. Like Halloween: The Return of Michael Myers did
Oh,
that.
that was the second one, right?
No, that was the fifth one, I think.
There's too many.
Yeah, that's another problem. They just keep constantly churning out sequels, and that's a problem with all
And
genres.
reboots.
That's a problem with every genre right now. But when it comes to horror, especially, it's just like they're running out. They have no more ideas. So hey, let's bring back this guy who was scary in this movie. So yeah.
I mean, we're getting a third reboot of Nightmare on Elm Street here soon. We're continuing with the reboot of Jason. We're getting new sequels to Ash versus the Evil Dead, which they say might go into movies.
Well, the Ash vs. Evil Dead TV show I've heard is good, but with Friday the 13th, what are they going to do with Friday the 13th? It's just some kid who's buried beneath a lake and goes around slashing people with a machete. What are they
But we
possibly
have
going
the
to do with it?
2009 movie, and we're finally getting a sequel to that. We're
Hey,
getting,
they're making a sequel to that.
yes, we're getting another Halloween movie here coming up soon.
A sequel to the
that's gonna
Rob
be more-
Zombie movie.
I hear it's going to be more based off the originals. It's
Oh.
going to be...
Okay, I'm willing to give it a chance, but only if Carpenter's involved.
I
about-
don't know if he will be or not.
What about all of these, all of the Texas Chainsaw movies?
Yes,
You've got
that is one of the most confusing
Chronologies.
here. Let me pull
Yes,
up.
there you go, of all time.
Let me pull up the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
There was like the reboot, then there's the prequel, then there's the prequel reboot, then there's the sequel to the prequel, there's a sequel to the reboot. It's all over the place.
And then there's what is it I'm thinking of? Amityville Horror, based on the true story. Yeah, more like based on the true hoax.
Yeah.
How many annual horrors are there? There's like what,
Okay,
5 and like 3 reboots at least.
Okay, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. Say it was based off the true book that claims to be based off a true story in Long Island, which I doubt is real.
Well,
Because
people
my
live
mom,
in that house now. People live in that house. They changed out
Yeah, I
the
know.
windows because people
my
were
mom's
so...
my mother's actually visited the house. She's been there.
Oh
It's really,
God! There is a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie coming out next year.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. There's also going to be a new
called
Hellraiser
Leatherface.
I've seen.
And then there's Leatherface.
Oh,
Leatherface
yeah.
next.
Speaking of which,
Directed by Alessandro Bustillo and Julian Maury. Maury is from Paris. Bustillo's from Saint Cloud, France.
yeah,
I think I was
uh,
going to bring up the
they've
original
directed-
Leatherface.
They've directed Inside. They've directed Livid, ABCs of Death 2, Among the Living.
but I was just gonna say here, what do you guys think about the Hellraiser movies? Is because I heard those got really
I've
bad
never seen
really fast.
They were very good premise. They could have been good, but Again,
I
they
never,
took
I've
it, they
never
drove
seen
it
it.
into the ground. It's a problem with horror movies. It's a problem with movies in general, where they try too
Um,
many sequels. They try to do too much at one time.
Directed by Clive Barker. He's not bad. He's directed some good stuff. Who plays Pinhead? Doug Bradley. Yeah, he's a good actor. Doug Bradley.
Okay. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out in 1974. Widely
Mhm.
regarded as possibly one of the greatest horror movies of all time.
It's a very good movie, yes.
The
The
Texas
original was.
The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 came out in 1986, 12 years later.
That's not a good sign.
Then we have Aliens came out about that same time, but so
Oh
did
wait, never
Alien
mind.
3.
Never mind.
But
Never mind.
then we've got Leatherface, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, which came out 4 years after her Massacre 2. Then we've got Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation, and presumably that Degrassi crossover everybody was asking for. Nothing.
Nope,
I've
I got nothing.
Okay.
I've not seen any Texas Chainsaws.
The Degrassi joke.
No,
I
I
don't
know
get it.
Degrassi.
I don't get
Okay.
it. I don't know anything about him.
Never mind.
I feel like
Yeah,
really
it's-
for a lot of people's heads right there.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation,
94, directed by Kim Henkel.
1994, Renee Zellweger and Matthew McConaughey.
Yes, Matthew McConaughey was in. I remember that. He was absolutely terrible.
And Texas
That's
Chainsaw
a-
Massacre: The Next Generation.
It was
McConaughey, Renee
it was a
Zellweger.
horror comedy. Hey, wow.
Okay,
Yeah,
original.
remember, McConaughey used to be a nobody.
It was
The first two movies were directed by Toby Hooper. The first movie starred. Where's the actor list? Okay, there's no actor list here. Okay, there's Dennis Hopper is in the second movie.
I know.
The third movie is directed by Jeff Burr.
Okay, so apparently The Next Generation is actually in continuity with the other Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies. It was made in
94.
Yeah, it was made in
Then
well,
there's this remake
that was when
with
it was
Michael.
released, wasn't it?
Then there's a 2003 remake directed by Marcus Nispel and
see
produced by
here.
Michael Bay.
Okay,
Produced by Michael Bay.
it was originally released in 94 and then re-released in 97, and after McConaughey and Renee Zellweger became famous. Then you've got
The 2003 has Jessica Biel with Andrew Berniarski, R. Lee Emery, Eric Balfour.
that's the remake, and then you have the
Toby Hooper and Kim Henkel actually helped produce this with Michael Bay. So
then you've got
and then there's The Beginning from 2006.
the beginning, which is the prequel, and then you
directed by Jonathan Liebsman. Jonathan Liebsman, the same guy who directed Battle Los Angeles and a protege of Michael Bay. He's a South African clone of Michael Bay.
now you had Texas Chainsaw, which came out 2 years
3D.
ago. I call it
Yes.
Texas Chainsaw because that sounds cooler than 3D.
Because
But
also 3D's in the title
Yeah.
because it's not like it hasn't been around since the 1950s.
yeah,
So
it had
Wow.
those gimmicks of throwing the chainsaw at the camera, and it's a sequel to the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which doesn't take into account any of the other sequels. It's also
directed by
supposed to be.
John
Yeah,
Lucenhoff.
It was also supposed to have been set in the 1990s, but they have modern technology then.
Well, that sucks. So this is directed by John Lucenhoff, who directed Takers with Matt Dillon, Paul Walker, Idris Elba, Jay Hernandez,
Oh.
Michael Ealy, T.I., Chris Brown, and Hayden Christensen.
Can I go ahead and did you guys know that Leatherface is a prequel to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre? The one that's
Yeah, I
coming
heard
out?
that's what it's supposed
Yeah,
to be. Even though,
another
even though the actor himself has died who played him,
Another freaking prequel.
because of course it is.
Yeah.
Leatherface, Bill Johnson, apparently.
Yeah, honestly, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is one of those series that seems like it kind of stuck with the the ideas laid down, but not but it didn't
Okay,
it,
wait,
it
who
didn't
plays them?
it
I'm trying to
didn't mutate
mistake
quite
it.
as much as the other series have.
Wait, portrayed him Gunnar Hansen. That's what I'm thinking of. Gunnar Hansen. He died.
He just passed away last
Bill
week.
Johnson. Bill Johnson plays him as well. Then there's R.A. Mihailov.
Yeah,
Jack.
are there any other
Robert
horror
Jacks,
franchises that you guys
Andrew
want to?
Bjarnestad, Dan Yeager, and Sam Strike is the guy who's playing him in this
Yeah.
new.
Do you guys have any other horror franchises you want to discuss the decay of?
We hit all the big ones. We hit Nightmare. We
I
hit
think we hit
Friday,
everything.
We hit
I
Halloween.
think we've hit everything now.
Texas Chainsaw.
I think the only thing we could go for now is those exploitation films from the 80s, but I don't even want to talk about them because there's just sex and porn. It's basically porn trying to be taken as movies.
Well,
so
I was
I don't
trying
even want to talk
I was
about them.
I was gonna say that nowadays the limits have been pushed, so pushing the limits any further is just gonna be even the most open-minded people would probably consider that obscene.
We
Yeah,
have pushed the limits so far; they cannot be pushed any further.
yeah. There's
So
nothing
I
to
think
be scared
this
of
is
anymore.
I think that this will be a good thing because now that we know that we can't push the limits any further to where we can't do anything else, maybe we'll go back to storytelling. Maybe we'll go back to acting. Maybe we'll go back to that.
But the story doesn't sell, as George Lucas would say.
I'm
That's the
hoping
brand
that's
that
what
sells.
this means.
And unfortunately, there is some truth to that because friggin' Star Wars and Star Trek,
But yeah,
and Spider-Man, and Marvel, and DC, and all like.
do you guys have anything else you want to say?
I think that's it. I think that's all we can talk about now.
I just want to say that we need to go back. Horror from the 1920s to the 1960s was some of the best movies ever made.
I have not watched a horror movie in years, so
They were some of the most iconic movies of all time back in those days, and they had some great actors. They had some great storytelling, and these guys were legends. It was a great series. It was a great genre that we have fallen from now, and I want it to be good again. And I'm really hoping that we can grab a hold of that. And maybe Zach was right. Maybe we can go this new renaissance of horror movies. But right now, I'm seriously doubting it based on our past track record of the last 40 years or so.
I think they should stop making the horror movies right now for several years. Wait till Wait till a lot of time has passed where people have not been like where we've forgotten our desensitization. Then come back with something. But I think that's all we can talk about now. I think we're done.
Well, Zach, Vlad, and I haven't given our top 5 ways to fix horror.
Okay, yeah, give your top 5s.
So
I just have my one. Go back to acting. Go back to writing. That's it. Go back to a story. That's it. Go back to the basics. Pretend we don't have CGI. Pretend we can't show this monster all the time, and go back to the story. That's
Stop showing everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's better when it's left to the imagination, I think.
Stories first. Everything else comes secondary.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number one.
Al, what's yours?
Number one. Don't shoot for the stars. Don't designing a scary monster. That's fine. Don't over design it. Go with something that's very simple that you can tell. You can sort of tell what it is, but it's not overly detailed to the point where you can't recognize it.
Don't be Tetsuro Nomura, basically.
Yeah. And number 2, get really good actors. Really good actors that can sell what's going on. Number 3, a good director can compensate for bad actors, but a good script is necessary no matter what. You need to have a good idea to start with, otherwise you're not going to wind up with anything that remotely
Even good
resembles.
actors can't fix a bad script.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Yeah.
Because just look at like Ewan McGregor.
Yeah, and look at
And he's an amazing actor. He's gotten stuck with so much bad things, surprisingly.
number 4. Indie filmmaking handles horror best these days, so broaden your horizons. Look in the indie scene if you want to
And give them a
experience.
budget.
Yeah, if you want to experience good horror, and give them a good budget.
But then you have to worry about that with like what Saul
Oh.
did, where they start
Yeah.
off as indie.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's number 4.
Oh yeah, that's give them a budget. But number 5,
It's not too much.
number 5, you need limitations. Creativity is spawned by limitations, and you have to limit yourself to certain aspects of storytelling and spectacle. You don't go for a spectacle creep. You don't go for any. That's redundant. Number 5, pace yourself.
Yeah. And
Number
the thing
5
about
is just
limiting,
pace yourself.
the thing you were talking about limiting, because the first Terminator movie, James Cameron wanted to put the T-1000 in there, but he
Mhm.
realized it'd be not only were the effects not good enough for it, but he realized it'd be too much into one movie, so he saved it for the sequel.
Yeah, that's the thing, is save some stuff for the sequel. Well,
Yeah,
but
don't shove
yeah.
everything at once to the point where it's just incomprehensible.
And only do a
save stuff
sequel
for
if
the
it is
sequel.
necessary.
Yeah, but don't go into it thinking that you're going to have a sequel. Well, but don't try and push everything into one movie too, because that's a
Stop
big
doing like
problem.
Fantastic Four, stop doing like Amazing Spider-Man 2, where they try so hard to set up a sequel that they fail
Everything
on
is-
everything else.
Everything in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is crammed and nothing is coherent. Spider-Man 3 had a more coherent plot than that.
There is a good story somewhere in Amazing Spider-Man 2, I'll say that. It's
Yeah,
somewhere.
they-
It's hidden.
The original
Garfield and Stone are the only good things about it right now.
the original version of Amazing Spider-Man 2 was much better because they
Yes, it was.
reshot that movie. But anyways, I've got to go walk the dog. My throat's starting to hurt me, so let's go ahead and wrap this up.
All right,
We'll
then.
see you guys
Let's-
next week with a
With
Marvel
Marvel.
podcast.
With Marvel, where we talk about Jessica Jones as well as the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies and Daredevil. Then, until then, we'll see you next time. I'm Alexander Truvini.
I'm Alex Shannon.
And I'm Vlad, and if you're looking for a new poster boy for new horror, I'm your guy, so just remember that, guys.
Hire this guy. He actually knows what he's talking about. Hollywood. Hire this guy to do something. Write a script.
Be the new bad guy. Be the poster boy.
I'd
Mhm.
love to play the bad guy. I'd love to play the bad guy because I have so much fun playing a bad guy. all
Hell,
the time.
I'd love to play a villain too, but I also want to direct. So,
I scare people when I don't even try. Sometimes that's
so
how good I am. Everyone in my family
this
tells
is
me
going
that.
on. This is going on too long. I'm gonna go ahead and stop now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Have yourselves a good night, people.